Hello folks, welcome to this week's edition of We Speak Tangent. I'm Michael Greaves Mackintosh, I'm one of your presenters.
I'm Kat, and I'm also one of your presenters.
And this week we're going to be interviewing another one of our presenters. This is James Alexander Gaffney.
Thank you very much for having me. My name's James Alexander Gaffney and I am part of the Neurodivergent Entrepreneurs Network, and I'm also a presenter on the We Speak Tangent. I am a self-employed artist, author, director, presenter, and lots of other things, so it's great that I can come along and play a part in this and introduce myself. You'll get to know me as we go along.
Awesome.
So, as James said, We Speak Tangent aims to give a platform to all neurodivergent entrepreneurs, especially in the south of Scotland. So in this episode, we're going to hopefully get to know James a lot and the things that he does and some of the projects that he has piloted. James, thank you for being here. If possible, could you please describe your journey to your neurodivergence-ness?
You know, coming in, driving into the car, get that big hour journey from my house to here, and you're constantly thinking, what am I going to say, what am I going to do, who am I going to speak to? Like, obviously I know you guys, so it's like, it's not going to come out the way that I initially thought it was. So I am James. I'm born in a wee town called Cowannon from the west coast of Scotland, and I was diagnosed early, but no fault through her own. My mother had decided to just keep it under wraps. There's nothing wrong with James, and my late mother's no longer with us. I don't hold grudges. My journey has led me to here, so for that I'm truly humble and thankful. But growing up as a kid, it is a hard journey. I've jotted down a wee bit there that one of the hardest things that I ever went through was on my 8th birthday, and I've only shared this with one or two other people. So, my 8th birthday, I was blowing out my candles, and as a kid, not knowing how to cope in the skin that I was in effectively, I blew my candle out. I'm getting quite emotional telling you this. My 8th birthday, I blew a candle out, and I wanted to be normal. Do you know how hard that is? Just as a kid, you don't even know, your world is just unfolding. And it just unfolded there. Now, being ADHD and autistic, I can see things now. I'm a wee bit older. I'm 41 years old. I can go back and I don't live in the past though. But my past is my greatest asset. My past has led me to here. And it's been a struggle. But I have a fantastic life now. I have a fantastic world that I've created with the right people, and I guess that's what it is to be a neurodivergent entrepreneur. Is yes, to the outside world I'm very successful, and we are successful, but the stuff we set up, it comes at a cost. I work 7 days a week. It's part of my neurodivergency, and if my platforms will assume that I'm always around people. Yes, I am always around people, but I am lonely. But I'm not alone. The difference there, like the younger me would be, I grew up wanting to impress everybody, trying my hardest to deal with something that I was told wasn't there. And now I'm free. I've exposed myself to the world. This is who I am. And I chose addiction. Addiction took me down a path from the ages 12 right up until I was 37. And that journey is not an easy journey to be taken. Addiction took me right out the door, as they say. But not knowing what it is, where it is, and what you're going to do. Somebody asked me a very interesting question last week, and it was, if you could make a phone call, who would you call and what would you say? And being impulsive, ADHD, I instantly answered, and I said, if I was to make a phone call, I would phone call young me. And I would probably go back to that 8th birthday and I would say, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. I'm not going to lie, I'm 41 years old and I cry when I see things like families getting on and doing that. But there's always that other bit. I leave myself, I'm transparent. If I was to tell you so many times I'd been assaulted just for looking at somebody, I don't have the same emotions as everybody else. You know, I don't have that. I have a resting face. I'll politely use that word. But you know, it's because being autistic, I don't adhere to the normal rules that the world would have. And you know, when I put down the alcohol and the drugs, that was all well and it was great, and I started to make amends for my life. And you know, I had found an art set under my bed, and I decided that, you know, what else have I been lying about to myself, you know, because I didn't need alcohol and drugs in order to deal with the world. And I painted this nice wee painting, and one of my friends seen it on Facebook and decided to ask me, was that, who painted that? And I said, me. And they said, who? I said, me. And you know, we take it from there. We then went on to, I've sold 1,421 paintings now. And again, I don't say these things in order to show off, because all the projects we run, we facilitate, we pay that over the course of 4 years, you know. And it's like, I've written books, I became an author, I created a world that was me as a wee mouse, and you know, that wee mouse goes on a magical journey all around where I live. And you know, I guess I've went off on a tangent there, but you know, as we
need that. That's good for the podcast. Otherwise, it's a bit pointless.
But you know, as the journey transcended, it was like transcended. It was clear to me that I had so much more. That this youngster that had been curbed by society and all the social economics and all the other stuff, I didn't fit in at school. You know, I didn't adhere to the normal rules. I was unruly. I was a bad boy. I was still a bad boy until I was 37. But, you know, all these things gave me a skill when I got a wee bit older, albeit 20 odd years later. But, you know, it serves a purpose. And if anybody's listening, you know, and you take anything from that, the journey, it doesn't get any easier, but it gets better. That's the whole point of this, you know. So
what was, if we just go back to that, so thank you for sort of telling us about your 8th birthday. What was the moment? Because we've had a brief chat because it was as part of the screen tests to see if we all got on as human beings, because that would have been a completely different podcast if we hated each other. But you have said to me that you backed yourself. You went from not painting, as in not doing it, to actually one painting, and that's. I wonder if you could just share a bit, because I think what gets lost, and we're here trying to, we are promoting neurodivergence within the south of Scotland, specifically from an entrepreneurial set, if you like, and everybody has a skill, everybody has value, but it can be there in a moment when, had you ever thought about art, or was it that... that painting underneath your bed and you just backed yourself in it? Well, you know, I can't say I've never thought about art, even although I went to many schools because of how I was at that time. I did like art, but you know, it was one of those stories where the teacher had said, you know, you'll never amount to anything, you know, we can all go with it. I was born in the 80s, you know, that's how it was. But you know, that really hurt me as a small child, teenager, trying to see where they fit in the world. So I used that, I guess, but when I got sober, I started to defrost to the world, and I thought, hey, you know, if I could go back and I could say, you know, what do you mean by that? Because I didn't have a voice. So my art is my voice, my books are my voice. The stuff we do in the community, I get it. To other people see it as really overwhelming. Try and take it from my point of view. Being autistic and ADHD, I am constantly overwhelmed. Even the way I'm talking, I'm realising I'm speeding it up because I'm overwhelmed with how the world reacts to how we are as people. But you know, it is a journey where creativity set me free. So I try and release that to other people and show them. And obviously I've been sitting doodling there. You know, that's how I centre myself. So how did it go from, because I think there will be entrepreneurs out there that don't realise the steps that it takes, and it could be something very simple, or it could be something that takes many steps and go through people. So how did it go from that painting underneath your bed to the first iteration, which was Jagart's 82? Because we will get to the other iterations of what it is you do, but I think this is a perfect example of how skill turns into, and we have to say it quietly, business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's been many sacrifices along the way. It isn't easy, but the reward is worthwhile. I threw myself in. Somewhere along the line, a business was formed. I've given away a lot of stuff. I've given away paintings. I've given away the most important thing that I have is time.
Why?
I guess because I see the worth in other people, and other people deserve that chance. The predominantly the people who I work with are kids, adults, people that I see. They don't get the opportunities. That the world is sheltering itself for the fact is that we are out there. We're in your homes. Do you know? We're in your schools. We're in your car. We're in your taxis. Neurodivergent people have been here for a long time. And
Some of us are in our own homes, by the way. We're not just in yours.
And it's like that everybody deserves an opportunity. We don't. There's everybody. We open the doors to anybody. You don't have to be neurodivergent in order to get involved with what we do. But I guess that it takes it right back. I go back to that same day now. I don't live in the past, but I go back to that day on the 7th of July 2020 when I decided that was enough of that world. And 4 years down the line, 4 and a bit years down the line, when I'm defrosted, I'm like...
Are you defrosted
like,
after 4 and a bit years?
I'm defrosting.
I love this analogy.
Yeah.
I'm defrosting to the world. I've been catapulted into the 4th dimension. So now I'm in this world and I'm living it. And it's like, yes, the art is my voice, but I have no definitive end goal. I just want to give as much as what I can. What was the question?
There's no need to cut in again. I'll just do the Michael Parkinson thing. You just ask the question and just hope that it comes out.
So
Yes.
I had a question. So the
Thank goodness, because I forgot what mine was. Right, okay.
I'm a great believer in the gifting of a human and your own kind of unique way of interacting with the world and feeling. And I wonder about kind of whether it felt really being in the flow when you were painting that first painting.
I still remember the feeling of lifting my head up after a major hyper focus on this cockerel. And it was just, the cockerel was there and it was just like an end goal. I'd painted the canvas black and then I went and put the colour on. Now, I didn't know any artist at that point. I didn't know anybody to ask. So I just pretty much chucked it out onto the social medias.
That's a point, though. I think if I don't address it, I will go home and go, why didn't he say that? But this is completely random. This is, I'm not putting words in James's mouth, but this is somebody that, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're here, thank goodness, but this is somebody that had thought about it, but never picked up a paintbrush.
Yeah.
And so you didn't get an arts degree, you're not a
degree.
University, you don't have family that are... This is completely...
Just random.
Skill-based,
Inbuilt
backing
creativity.
yourself. Yeah.
Now, given that, when I used to get drunk, I would tell people I could paint, hence why there was a canvas under my bed. But, being neurodivergent and no understanding how my brain works, I would get as far as ordering it. And then when it came to the real deal, I would be like, I'm really busy.
Yeah.
And that's where I had a canvas under the bed. But hey, was that meant to happen? I don't
Yes.
believe in coincidences.
Yeah.
It's like, that happened, and then all of a sudden, I'm painting wee cards. I'm using this as my crutch into society, because as somebody who is in the outside, it looks as if he's really, really in there with the public and in there with people. When I'm too much peopled, I get overwhelmed. So instead I sit and paint, and then I give that painting away to somebody in the cafes. Now, hope that answers the question. That was
So if there's any members out there of the art community that watch this and go, how dare he? No, there will be, by the way. The question was, because I think I'm just a neurodivergent person, so I don't have the voice for everybody. But I think one of the barriers, and we will get to the sort of barrier question, but one of the barriers is, can I? And then how
absolutely.
can I? So what I was trying to get to there, if I could just, is that it's backing yourself. It started with a lie. You didn't know if you could.
yeah.
You wanted to.
But you wanted to. And then one day when the world made some sense, you picked up a paintbrush.
Yeah.
And that has started...
A Whole new world.
There is no other way of saying this, folks, but if James did one thing, it would be commendable. This is a human being that does not do one thing. And that's not a slide on you at all. So you mentioned cards. Yeah. So tell me about the cards. Because we will get to the other stuff. This episode will be longer.
I was really overwhelmed sitting in cafes. You can imagine I've admitted to the world I'm an addict. I hadn't quite admitted to the world that, because I was always okay with being ADHD. I hadn't quite told the world that I was autistic as well.
2 seconds. Why?
I guess I was ashamed of being told that I didn't have any of these things. It was just it was overwhelming to think of the overwhelming of each individual.
I can identify
it was like separating each individual part of me and going. So the way that I dealt with it was I would take myself out of my comfort zone. I'm still uncomfortable in cafes and stuff, and I will go there and I've got a bright orange fluffy bag, which is like a sensory bag, and then I would sit there and I would paint. And obviously I'd be there with somebody. I have that whole being by myself. I'm still quite cautious of that, as I was assaulted when I was 15 by 15 boys with golf clubs. But again, that's another story. I'm very, very paranoid. But sitting there in the midst of all this craziness, just after lockdown, I put a blank card out and I took my paintbrush out. I was sweating, I was paranoid, I was looking, I was watching, I was seeing everything. Then all of a sudden I've painted these wee bees and a wee flower. Nice. So then I pick somebody in there as I'm leaving and I just chuck it on the table and run. And I'm literally running the car in my orange bag, and it's a transfer of energy. It's like, now I've found a way that I'm able to give somebody something without actually it costing anything. We've probably gave away now just over about 1,200 cards. My voice changed there. I was realising how many I gave away.
Thinking about that, so does making the card, is that a way of interacting that doesn't overwhelm you in the same way that people in a conversation say would?
Well, normally if somebody's having a conversation with me, I'll have the card and I'll just, is it okay if I paint? Yeah. Even if they said, no, don't, and I'll be like, that's it, the card that's out, and then I would sit and paint. And I guess it's the experience of having to ask for water, and then if they ask me, what, that, I'm constantly moving inside my mind. What if they ask me what the water's for? What if they've got a problem with it? It's like, I use the boiling the egg analogy, because that's the one I always use in my head, is like, I don't boil eggs. Because I put them in the pan, I put them in the water because I have done, and then I'm constantly thinking, is the egg going to explode? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it soft inside? Is it ready? Is it not ready? Is there too much water?
Variables.
And then we're back in the room. It's like the card there in itself, I am fully engaged with the person that's with me, and I'll sit and paint something. Now, the reason why I started to paint bumblebees is, Jag Art 82 has been going for 4 years, but it's been hard work. I don't ever say that it hasn't been hard work. But the wee bumblebee, you don't see it on a logo, but the bumblebees aerodynamically shouldn't be able to fly. Yes. They shouldn't be able to do what they do. But, that's exactly what Jag Art 82.
And yet they do.
Yeah, here we are, 4 and a bit years in.
As a non-artist, I don't imagine that bumblebees are easy to draw. I mean, if that was me, if I was giving, I'm going to give a bit of myself away now. If I was giving 1,200 cards away, you'll get a stick man holding a coffee. We're not talking. We're not talking. That's a nice doodle. We're talking intricate things that you would literally.
Well, funnily, I've got paints with me, so we're going to get a wee painting after this, eh?
That'll be in the outro.
Yes, and I will be somewhere out there.
We will find you with a particular set of skills.
So, if we could just, because we have terms that we explain, and I think we haven't explained peopling.
That's true.
I think it's very much like, yes, we speak tangent, but when you do look at it, it's like, what are they peopling? What are they talking about? Yeah. And it's something that we have alluded to in previous episodes, but I just think it needs to be said again. Having a mind, and I'm not saying other people don't have minds, but having a mind that works quicker in some cases than most people,
and also slower sometimes.
It's exhausting, and peopling. It's certainly difficult for me to go up and say, hello, how are you? So I kind of, if I was an artist, I would do the same thing, I think. So Jag Arts has been going for 4 years. Yeah. So just give us a little bit more before we go into question 2, as this isn't just a nice little art class.
No, so...
And I say that with respect to people that do have nice little art classes.
So we started... We're based in Berwick-upon-Tweed. We are moving. I won't give you that just yet, but, you know... With the company I started, remember, it was just me. It was still just me 3 years in.
How did we get there?
So I painted for my house. I painted things. I've also given away 927 paintings to charities, to people. That's not including the 1,400 that I've made and sold all over the world. The money that I used from that, we then set up projects for Newcastle right up to Oban, and it went crazy. But I've written 5 books, and 3 which we opened up our own publishing company. We now have a junior JAG Art Academy, so we're now training kids everything that I know. I'm not going to give it all away because that's very exciting what's happening. You know, our art class went from just me and 2 friends who I had said, oh, if there's an art class on a Sunday, do you want to come? And they came, and then half an hour in, they were like, where's everybody else? It's like, oh, this is it. This is the first day. But now, if they all come at the same time, we have 70 odd students, you know, so it just exploded. We became the resident artists at Paxton House. If you've not been, please go. It's such a beautiful estate. The books, we produced and directed a short film. It was going to be longer, but now we have been scouted by big places, which I'll not mention their names on here, but we have a costume designer, I write the scripts. It's like, there's loads. I put the neurodivergent to the test every single day, but like, again, back to what you were saying about peopling, it is just me, and it was just me, and it's this protective thing that I'd built. I now have a fantastic team of people who, it's like a wee family now, and you know, they understand, they get it, that they'll not fully be able to understand how the mind of the neurodivergent works, but they're on board. You know, these are kind people who are out there that want to do kind stuff like me. And
it's not just kind people, it's incredibly talented, equally
Yes,
neurodivergent people, because that's where I first met you. But yeah, it's so how, I mean, we have to ask the question in an oblique way, because this is an entrepreneurs network. You're giving a lot away.
yeah,
How do you make money?
we don't. I think that's the fact is that everything we get in, we put back out. Having said that, now we have a team that's in place that, you know, being neurodivergent, I'm 41 years old, and I may have had great jobs in the past, but where it comes to money and stuff, I literally would give away the shirt off my back in order to make somebody happy.
I believe that.
And you know, it's that emotion that I don't understand. It's like every relationship I've ever had with a partner, it has ended because I don't understand that, you know, barriers and things. Now, I'm not saying that people took advantage, but there is people out there that take advantage of myself, my company. But now we have people in place, you know, and it's an experience, you know, and I'm not saying these people are bad people, but, you know, as a neurodivergent person who has had to deal with addiction, and now I'm defrosted, as I said, and now I'm like I'm getting emotionally attached to the autistic side and the ADHD side, so I'm protective over me. I'm protective over
awesome.
8-year-old James, but I will give away freely what was given to me. I will show people, and I will lead for the front. I never asked for this. I never asked to be the front leader. I don't want to be in a boy band where I'm the front singer, because I can't sing.
And yet,
but
here you are.
here I am. But you know, and if I ask myself, if not me, then who? You know, and that's it. I lead for the front. We've got a fantastic set of people who, in our network, and including news guys, you know, who have shown me the way. We mentioned Rachel earlier. You know, Rachel gifted me something. I'm what you call out in the wild for my neurodivergency until I met her. And she said, we were having a conversation, and it was like this. I was getting excited, and I was very moving, and all of a sudden, halfway through the conversation, she said, it's my turn to talk, and put her hand up. And I'm like, normally I would be, how very dare you! But this time, it felt like it was a lesson.
It's just a fact.
On the drive home, my life changed forever. I am not joking. My life changed forever. Jan asked me what's up with you, and I said, give me a wee minute. I'm having to deal with this. And then all of a sudden, I got quite emotional. I was thinking,
amazing when you get something that filters down through
40
all of the layers of yourself. Yeah.
41 years old, and all of a sudden is like, and I was dressed in an elf costume, by the way, so I was dressed in
I love how
an
you're adding
elf
that thing
costume.
in. Three quarters of the anecdote, by the way. So I think because it's time for us to pause and change tape, I think we'll go back into this. But that is the first stuff, and we haven't even really touched the surface of what this guy does. So we'll pause and we'll come back. All right, folks, so we are back on the record, so to speak. Welcome back to We Speak Tangent. Our guest is still James Alexander Gaffney. So if we could just sort of go back, because you, in the times that I've met you and Kat's met you, that anecdote really did change how you think. So what was it? Because I know Rachel, but I also know it could have been anybody else.
So it's like...
with full respect to Rachel, it could have been anybody else.
I don't know, man. I think it's like, I'm always a believer of things are there and they've been mapped out for a reason, you know. No. That day I was excited. I was very, very ADHD, James. I was excited. There was cake. There was I had a bag full of prints that I had wrapped up that I was giving to businesses who were really kind. So I had taken them, and then all of a sudden, and that it was literally, we're just in there, and then Rachel put her hand out and said, "It's my turn to speak." Now, any other day, man, I'd have been. I can't. Honestly.
So what struck you about it?
Yeah. Well, that is like instantly. I've said to myself, she must be in a group. That she must get help, because for the ages of 8 and then being diagnosed at 9 as a child psychologist started to diagnose me. Till that point, I have never had any interaction with anybody for discussing. Yes, I will say I'm ADHD.
Yeah.
I've not been down any rabbit holes of reading books or anything. You know, I've just
was that a dual diagnosis at that time?
Yeah. And then I went on after that, after speaking to Rachel, not that I'm blaming Rachel for this one, but I became obsessive of, am I? And then I went for another.
Nice.
I went for another. I paid private because the waiting list is quite long.
2 years
for
Is it really?
Yeah, well, 9 years on the NHS.
Wow.
And they just re-diagnosed me, so it was like, wasted money. But in my mind, it was like a sense of, as an adult, you know, I'm a different person. I'm like a newborn baby as such. I'm 4 years old, living on the planet since I was 12. Yeah, I get that. So Rachel, I will always, as for all these, have that respect. I've been given a big gift that and I get emotional. I'm getting emotional even telling you, because it's just one of the things that, you know, you're out there in the wild and people are just assuming that you're all right, and you know, well, as I say, it gets emotional. It is one of the things that I'll be truly thankful, because it's taking me on another journey of discovering this other side of me.
There's something about validation and belonging, isn't it?
And it could be from not a medical professional. Yeah, it could be from anybody.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably one of the other misinterpretations. It could be a diagnosis, or it could be somebody with some form of experience. As long as it's communicated in the correct way.
When you're out in the wild, and you know, and literally, when I say out in the wild, I literally lived on a farm during lockdown, and I've had jobs where I've always been sales. I call this the Wizard of Oz approach. The shield, the curtain had fell.
Just checking you're not wearing red slippers, right? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, just checking.
All of a sudden, this is very real for me. Yeah. It's all right going out there and having this with the cards and doing with the business.
And a role.
I've literally given away a lot of money, but what Rachel gave me, I'd do it all again for. That was priceless, and you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say I go back there and live in that moment. It's very emotional for me, because I am a very closed off person. Yes, if you read my kids' books, there's another message inside that book, as are all of them. And you know, I read my first book back and I cried, because I wrote that, and I knew the ending was coming, but then it was presented. That it's
amazing when you create something that is symbolic, and then you realise that you've communicated something you didn't even realise about yourself. It's beautiful.
It's like a whole different layer of creativity. You know, the company's logo, Jaguar 82, is in a box. People are often, I've said this to Michael, I mean, people are like, oh, you always think outside the box. And I'm like, there is no box.
Yes.
There is no box. That is the only box that I will allow myself to be compared
Yes,
to.
he said it.
That's it. It's like, you know, that's the only box. And that's what art does for me. Like, my mother's no longer with us, so as a homage to her, my name is James Alexander Gaffney. I was born in 1982. Sorry for anybody who thought I was younger, but you know, that box has everything in there, and we will do everything that is creative, but we will also do everything in our will to help people. That's the difference between Jaguar 82 and other companies and other places. I'm passionate about two things. I'm passionate about creativity, and I'm also passionate about this new world that I have and people in it.
So, two things though. When I first met James, the first thing he said was, he explained the logo and he said, that's the only box I ever fit into or ever want to fit into. And I went, okay. And I'm sure we'll get to the person behind what you do as time goes on. But if you're okay to talk about it,
Of course.
what as a neurodivergent person, as you, what stigma or other barriers have you encountered?
So the stigma is, the more I get, the more I can only go through my drunk log, right? My drunk log was for the ages of 12. I used alcohol and drugs right up till I was 37. So I've always seen through the other side of it, you know. I didn't need the alcohol or drugs, but it cushioned the mind, the 500 miles an hour. But as I said earlier, the relationships I've been in, whether that be with a partner or with friends, I've been taken advantage along the way. Whether it be they don't understand or they sell you the dream and say, you know, I get this, I get that.
Yeah.
Eventually I just shut the door on it and just said, listen, to myself, that's it. It's just, yes, okay, in the outside world, people will see as this performer, this actor, this, that. That isn't all who I am, you know. It's until I took the plunge 4 years ago, is like, this is who I am. I get it when people come out to the world as anything.
The authenticity
This is who
of
I
it
am.
all.
This is like, there is no hiding behind. But this is where it gets dangerous, because I am out in the wild, as I said, but the people have taken advantage in the last 4 years, you know, and I see it, but it closes me off even further, you know. I'll not go too much into detail.
Vulnerability is hard.
Vulnerability, being vulnerable, but it also has growth. Without being vulnerable,
Absolutely.
I cannot grow. Without having these things, I cannot show the way, you know. It's like, it's one of the things where I'm trying not to go too much into detail, but somebody took advantage of the company and went around tarnishing the name, and it wasn't something I had done. But how do you deal with that? Yeah. How do you deal with that emotional when you're out in the world? You're given so much.
When you're already overwhelmed by life in general. Yeah.
Your paintings, your business then becomes a critical place, because you're not selling stuff. Your mindset's not right. You cannot write a book. You don't want to talk to people. You're hiding in the house. You're no shaving. The whole the curtain has now well and truly came down and burnt.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
So that's a perfect segue into my next question, which would have been, I think you've answered it, but how has your neurodivergence affected the actual business side of it?
So,
'cause hopefully it could help somebody out there that
I think, well, past tense, I'm going to have to use some of the past, because that's where I'm in my mind, and my neurodivergence kind of there just now. I've had some great jobs. I've worked in banks.
You were a bank manager?
Well, personal bank manager. Aye.
I mean, imagine. Sorry, can we just hold that thought? Imagine if because you would probably give anybody a loan at that point.
Well, it was a bit different.
Well, you would. You just would. Imagine if that was your bank manager. Have £1 million. It's all good. Like, don't worry about it. It's fine.
I wish it worked like that. But, you know, even then, you know, my bosses, I had a real addiction problem, but I also had a real neurodivergent problem. And instead of coming together and saying, you know, this guy really does work hard for us, how can we help him? They ousted me. Then in my mind, I'm starting to go back the way, and I'm thinking, how many jobs has this happened? Every single job. So, and you're like, you're closing off with things, and then you're getting into debt. I got myself buying cars because I like the look of it. Then buying houses, and I'm like, what are you doing? All flash, no cash. You cannot do this. So it brings me back to things like neurodivergent people may possibly, like myself, need a bit of help. You know, it's like, but now take a breath. So being in the job that I do, I love my job. I don't fully understand that word love. but you know, I like what I do. I get a feeling for what I do, but in my job being neurodivergent, I could not do what I do if I wasn't neurodivergent. I am an advocate of ADHD, autism, and all other neurodivergencies because my job allows me to do it. But unfortunately, without money, I won't be able to continue to do this. But going in and going forward and doing these things and giving it away, the people who are really important and people who are close to me, they understand. They won't ever have that feeling though, but they get it and they influence it. And you're like, you know, you can see their faces when I'm starting and I'm off in one and I'm doing it, and you just see them clipping their seatbelts on and they're giving and holding on in there. And whether that's the right or wrong thing to do, I don't know. I'm still out there.
So how do they support you to do what you do?
So we have my best pal and our admin, and she runs Craft Art 82 is Jan, and Jan Cowan deals with a lot of the stuff the stuff that overwhelms me, like emails, dealing with people who are messaging, and it's not because I don't like them, it's because past tense, which I've just told you, we have something special and I do not want it to go away. I don't want it to get overwhelmed and excitable. James will give you everything. I'll give you everything. I'll give you the entire collection. I can show you my entire bank account and all the money we've made, we've given away.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's hard to explain that one, but the people around about me, like Ian is a very talented man, and they enhance what we do. They don't throw a blanket over it. They enhance it. If it was a fire, they'd pour petrol on it, and they'd just make it burn and keep it going. If that's such a thing.
So the team that you have are lovely. So there's Jan and Ian, and there's also other people within that.
Yeah. So we have there's Jan and Ian and myself. So when Neurodivergent James designed this logo, I needed 4 people, 4 different departments of this, whatever it was inside the files of James's head. That's the box.
Yeah,
nice.
That's the box. The other person who helps us with funding applications and stuff, which, by the way, in the listening, we don't get any funding for what we do. That's surprising that we don't get any funding, but we continue to do our own funding. She likes to remain in the background.
So I've met Jan and I've met Ian, and they're lovely people, and I'm sure we will have them in and to ask this question authentically. But how is it possible to work with somebody as 100 miles an hour as you?
So,
and I mean that genuinely. Like, it takes a certain flavour of person to want to keep up with the train.
Yeah.
Jan's she's very patient. I can see it does. People get frustrated, and I guess that's like having somebody like myself as a friend, as for business. It does. I can feel it, because we feel energy. You know, it's like I can feel it, but I don't know when I'm in the moment. Hence why I paint every day.
I think you're always. I think that's the thing. You're always in a moment.
It's like here I am. This is me. But you know, fair play to Jan. I've never met anybody like her. She went away and she did a course on ADHD. You know, that's somebody who cares.
That's lovely.
Cares about you as a person enough to go and do a course.
So does she kind of edit some of the ideas or kind of collate them?
I guess what we're getting at is I mean, if Rachel's told you it's my turn to speak, is there somebody out there that tells you, no,
Sometimes.
we can't do this? Like, who do you listen to?
So sometimes we now we do voice it to the team, you know, because there is stuff behind the scenes that I go away, because you want to be everything to be excitable. I guess what I'm trying to say is I kind of take on all the bad stuff, and that's where I'm slowly releasing some of that and giving away some of that, because I want everything to be the world that everybody thinks it is. But that's the big masking, you know. I'm masking everything. I'm masking all the stuff. I'm masking that we don't get any funding. I'm masking that it's me that funds the whole amount. I mean, we've spent all my money. Do you know, it's like that's where we are as a company. But we've got good things coming, and I don't say that as like a sob story. I say that to people to say, you know, this is who we are and this is how we operate. This is what we can give to the world. I will make mistakes. I'm a 41-year-old child that will be making mistakes, and I'll make mistakes in the next year. But what will difference is, I'll tell you this wee story. So I was in This Is How Change Is, and how I'm adaptable a wee bit. Walking into Morrison's to get chocolate, which I know I'm not allowed, but I'm going in and I'm all excited like a wee kid.
Who decides?
I decided, I was like, let's go for the chocolate. And then a woman in Morrison's uniform cut right across me. Not only has she's skiffed me, and I have like sensory issues, been in my space, touched me, that kind of stuff. And instantly I said something bad about her. That isn't me as a person.
Would you mind not awfully cutting in front of me as I'm buying chocolate?
Well, it was kind of like that. How very
Was it a little bit stronger?
A little shorter, yeah.
Yes.
But the difference is that instantly, and I turn around to Jan and I says, I shouldn't have said that. That woman might have had a bad day. It's not my place. And I try and take that as back as much as I can. But as a neurodivergent person, I have to get that out. It's like a tick. It's like something that's just like, I have to get that out because I'm angry. I'm physically angry. In past tense, that's never worked well for me, Like, I was building a camera thing the other day. It has, again, a tangent, but it was 4 parts to it. 4 parts, and I could not. My mind did not let me, and it wouldn't as a child let me build Lego sets and stuff. So it was like, step away for this. And as I said, Ian can do everything, so we sent it across there. And I got a lovely picture of Ian like that. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So just before we move into the next question, 2 things. So Ian is incredibly talented, so talented in fact that if you hear a musical interlude in one of these interviews, that is Ian. And
at the beginning and the end.
Beginning of a bookend, you see. But that was when I first met you, because Rachel said, I've got someone that you should meet, and I turned up and it was you and Ian. And the first thing you said was, it's the only box I don't fit into. And then I was introduced to Ian, and it, energy-wise, alchemy-wise, it just works.
Yeah.
You can be you and out there and on it and let's do stuff. And then you've got people that are equally as talented, but whose energy isn't quite, it's not to just sort of scale it back. So
there's something to be said for skills coming together.
The synergy of that whole, and I'm so proud of the team we have because it is special. And it is worth protecting, and it is worth going to the next level. It works. Again, like the team, and now as I guess with Rachel's help, I'm open to the possibilities of not big arguments, but I'll be able to accept that. I might not look as if
conversations.
Fellowship. Yes.
Not everybody.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to get on, but we have to make mistakes and we have to have an argument. And we're not going to be outside tops off fighting kind of stuff, but it's like
some of us are. Yes. No, I'm gonna.
And real conversations are where learning happens.
Real people. So I guess what I'm trying to say with that is that I accept everything that's happened to me all the way along to get me to here this moment in time. I drove up here smiling. I was this is so important to me. Hardly slept last night. Not one thing in my mind has came out while we've been talking on the mic. So it shows you.
I think you've sort of answered. I think you've sort of answered the sort of question to me, which is how does neurodivergent enhance what you do as an entrepreneur or business owner? And the answer to that is team. Because I think there will be people that will try and do it all themselves. Yeah. And that's a very noble.
Because sometimes that feels safer.
Yeah.
Does it?
You've only got yourself to answer to.
Fair play.
Like the anger and the bits is when you're going through stuff. It is that you only got yourself. Plus, you're only accountable for your actions. But it is a tough thing. Like I say, I've cried myself. I don't watch council TV because there's things on there.
Explain that.
So terrestrial TV, I don't watch
in as few words as possible. Let's see what we can actually broadcast. What is council TV?
Council TV is terrestrial TV, news, all these things. Because as a neurodivergent, I am a receptor. I have past tense taken on things overwhelming. The news, the things that are happening, yes, that is a sad thing, but it gets even sadder inside my mind and inside my body and inside my world.
I
so it's
also
like
consume news carefully.
Exactly. Me and you were talking the other night, Kat, and I bought this projector that projects the wee star thing onto my ceiling. Cost me £8, and I'm like,
I watch the news, but I don't care. That's the difference. The two of you are really nice, and we can't hear this, and we can't be. No, I'm just like, okay.
Unless I'm on it, mind. I maybe come round. Excuse me, can I use your house because I don't have a TV licence? So I guess again, it does enhance what I do. It really does. I mean, the things we're doing. I've written scripts, and we're now filming. So I'll share this. I haven't really shared this with anybody. So
exclusive.
The production is called Shadows of the Boathouse. Now, everything I do has a darkness that follows me. So whether it be in my kids' books, whether it be in the stuff I write, in my paintings or the other things, it's like the shadows are what will always follow me. So that was the only thing I was adamant that I stayed in the production. I didn't even want to be in it, but I'm in it. But it was nice to see what I had written transcend into
that's
this
so cool.
wonderful thing.
It's like
But
the water lily, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like, you know, you wouldn't get a water lily if there wasn't the mud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that the shadows will always be there. I'll always be followed. But as long as I keep doing what I do, then I'll continue to get the results. And, you know, like you said there, Michael, asking for help is a very, very tough thing because, like we've said, the doors have been shut in your face. The things that you're asking, you're talking to people are using you, people are just assuming that you'll come and do stuff. Now, that's happened to me for 4 years, but I can make this point right now. It will still happen, but it will only happen in a small diluted version because I have the team and I have people to ask. And that's what it's like.
So I think you've answered this one. I mean, we're trying to go through a format. I mean, producer Amelia said you probably should ask these questions.
See all of the questions
interspersed
interspersed throughout the tangents.
I mean, you know. So, I mean, what do you? And again, I sound like an exam invigilator. You may or may not have already alluded to this in your answer, but could we just go and rehash it again? What do you really value about being neurodivergent? What is it? If we could, it's that horrible doctor thing of if we could bottle your energy, I'd have that energy. I'd probably have it for about a week, and then you'd hit the wall. But you have this all the time.
It's like, so. By the way, I'm also here in my own volition. I am not being forced and coerced by any of these conversations. Again, that came into my head there, like it did the last time I had to say it. So it's like,
It's all good.
you know, being in the tangent and talking in these things is a skill, but it's a skill that I've took 40 odd years to get. So it goes round and it goes round, and then I'm like, what was I going to say? Now we're just accepting that, you know, it's accepting the fact is that I do talk 500 miles an hour. The reason why I'm not in a relationship is because I get up in the morning and I'm like this and I've not had a cup of tea. I'm just like, I'm up and my cat's like, leave me alone. I'm trying to chase my cat for a cuddle in the morning. I'm like, where you going? You know,
in fairness, full disclosure, James has shown the team a photograph of his cat as he leaves the house, and it's just the cat at the window looking peaceful and yet scared. And what is your cat called?
Her name's Picasso.
Of course.
Come on. I mean,
She's a furry, valuable team member as well.
Yeah.
She's a great cat. But you know, back to that, it's like there is that. It's a superpower. It is a thing where, yes, I'm 41 years old. My life is starting to kind of even out a wee bit. At the beginning, it was a full-blown roller coaster, ups and downs, everything everywhere. Still like that. It just gets a bit more bearable, but I don't like people saying it gets easier because it doesn't get easier. It gets better. Life gets better. The whole fact is, if anybody's out there listening and you do need to reach out to me, reach out. I will give away everything that I know and everything that I've yet to do in order to get people like us and the people who are not like us, you can also get on board, you know.
Well, there's a mailing list.
Yeah. we'll be doing auditions.
Yes, absolutely.
We would like everyone to meet their full unique potential.
But you can, you know, there is a life. I always say there's a life after addiction. There's also a life during neurodivergency, you know.
Yes.
Like I said, and I did laugh and say, we're in your houses, we're in your taxis. We've always been here. But now it's our time to rise and it's our time. I guess that's why I love coming on here and being one of the guests and as well as an interviewer is like, you know, we have a voice and we are not scared to use it. That's the fact. That's that question. Are there any neurodivergent hacks or cheat sheets?
Yes. You just start reading it now.
It's like we are here and we're not going anywhere. I've found the voice that I've always wanted. So back to the telephone conversation. That's the voice, and that's what I'd say. You know, we are here and we're not going away. It's the fact of life that there are people like us out there. I always thought I was individual. I also thought that everybody thought like me. But I found out they didn't. It's like...
Okay, that's quite common.
Yeah.
It's like...
That really is. That is.
But hey, the world is full of different people and I'm glad to be one of them.
So,
Nice.
a couple of things. I remember the actual anecdote now. So, and I'll share this because there was a bit of a moment for me that I'm not sure that you realised it was. So the first time I met James, as I say, Rachel, who was the person that said, my turn to speak, and they have said that to me, which is quite nice. But in that meeting, in that conservatory, it was a youth hostel. I thought it was a Wetherspoons. I have no idea. Rachel, after the meeting, because it was on like half an hour, because you had an art class, and Rachel said to me, "What do you think?" And I went, I mean, whew. and I said, that is a child that has been told no and is finally giving himself permission to be himself. Mm-hmm. And that is the essence of why we are here. Mm-hmm. It's actually to be able to find out what it is that we do and contribute effectively and why it works with full acceptance from others. Because there is a point where you have to accept yourself, but there is a point which we all aspire to, which is you're so good, even the people that don't accept you you on merit. I mean, that is the thing. But yeah, I mean, you are so, and this, I am not, my neurodivergence, I haven't got the nice person update that others on this podcast have. I am the
different
extra
operating
Yes,
system.
I if you get a compliment from me, it's earned, but it's also on merit. You do not give yourself enough credit for the work that you do, and it doesn't end. We're not quite finished. Let's talk about shoes. This is something that I can contribute to. You are
we
painting.
all love shoes.
You are painting shoes. But we'll go back to that in part 3. All right, folks, we're back on the record. Welcome to, I don't know why I keep saying that. Welcome back to We Speak Tangent as if we have a record. The point at which we paused was me going, you're painting shoes now. It's something I can talk about. So how did you go from paintings to shoes?
So it literally just happened. I had a pair. I've always liked Doc Martens, so I bought a pair. And then all of a sudden I thought, how am I going to paint on this? Because I really want to paint on it. Yeah. So I used acrylic paint and then it fell off it. So again, just like the bumblebee, I didn't give up. I went down that neurodivergent rabbit hole and I now own hundreds of pounds worth of paint that is never going to be it. Aye. So then you have to take it back and you have to strip the boot back. Hold on, back to the question that you asked me. Aye. So it's named as Jaguar 80 Shoe. It's a subsidiary business, a wee side part of what we do. And the boots actually, we send them all over the world. We've got one pair left. When they come in, they go out just as quick. I have a couple of wee junior kids out doing, they've got the shoes and modelling them for us. Actually, tomorrow we're at Paxton House doing a photo shoot. Another woman who, a magazine of such, is coming to take the photos of Jaguar 80 Shoe. Nice. So I'm excited. So we also, again, tangent, jumping off that, we also just started up Jacket Art 82. So we've got our own designer label, which is coming very, very, very soon. We have a few products ready. Yeah, you heard it here first. But the Jaguar 80 Shoe was...
I just can't get over the other. Sorry, I'm just a child.
I have this like
so much fun.
Neurodivergent art style that it's very simple, but it's colourful, it's bright, and the colourful blocks in between it are the barriers of which I've had to face with my neurodivergency growing up and addiction, and they've got wee simple people in it, and I painted them first on it, and then they became popular. We did get into trouble by painting Mickey Mouses, but hey, we take full responsibility for that. But the Mickey Mouse was our best seller, but we got in trouble in a nice way because you can paint Mickey Mouse, you just can't paint them the newer version, it's the old one. 100 years old Mickey Mouse is over that, so he's in the space.
So would you say would you say that was a barrier to your neurodivergent success? Trademark or your licensing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you paint jackets, you paint shoes. Now they have to make money, surely. That isn't a giveaway job. Please don't tell me that's a giveaway job. My lord.
Thousands of shoes all around the world.
So I did give away a few pairs, but the giveaway was for the guys who give me their time, you know, the kids that are modelling them.
Of course, yeah.
The team have a pair as well. So it's like that. It's kind of like you're paying for an advert, you know, and if somebody wants to wear the shoes, then I'll happily come to a deal with you.
Outstanding. Right, so that's the takeaway from yes. So jackets and shoes, and what is next? Are we going sort of orthopedic splint?
So
Are we going trousers?
I've actually just painted a pair of orthopedic trainers
See?
yesterday.
There you go.
I done a wee rabbit.
That was completely natural. That was in no way doctored.
That was a collision of tangents.
Yes,
so
that
I
Big synchronicity.
painted a nice wee pair of orthopedic, painted a wee rabbit on the side.
Oh,
there.
and you paint
Aye.
violins and fiddles and all.
So there is an exciting person with the violin, but I can't say his name because I'm not doing it as a promotion. I'm doing it because I really respect him as an actor. But we have painted a few in the Jackson Pollock style.
Nice.
So you can go to jagart82.com and find them. They're sold out. So it's like you can see them.
You can find
but
them.
No painted,
Yeah.
but you know, but I like that the fact is I'm a neurodivergent artist who is a bit crazy, but you know, I'm not scared to try stuff. I tried
That's
them,
awesome.
put them out in the world, and people like them. So it's like, and they're an exciting style of art that really releases me. But that's what people don't understand is like every piece of art is one part closer to the voice that I've always wanted. It's like one I always say one project, one art piece, one person, one conversation, one card,
That's
whatever
so
it is
cool.
I'm giving away, all has a message of hope, I guess, you know, and that's what it is with the shoes, and they all have their own wee message. Some people when they stop me in the street and they ask me, and then 10 minutes later they're like, I've got my shopping to go and get, and then you realise that ADHD James is in control. But you know, it's nice to be appreciated in that sense. You know, there is another part that, like you said, jokingly, like we have given away quite a bit. That's part of my neurodivergency. I do feel that some people do take the mick with that. But you know, going forward in the future, we really do need to make money. So that's in order to continue what we do, we have to make money, or we won't be here. You know.
I think that's the point. We've had many chats. I love the fact that you give your time and skill and art to people, because that's what society should be, having the sort of moments of joy in between. And I don't have a vested interest. It's not my life. It's not my money. It's not anything. But there has to be a point where any business starts, which is why we are here with an Entrepreneurs Network. And it's not a sort of neurodivergent charity network. It's actually, and it goes back to something Kat said, which is, how do you eat? How do you survive? How do you... so I think...
I think you get to a certain place where it's like, well, actually, I need to be here in order to be able to give.
Yeah.
You can do all the things that make you feel comfortable and valued, as long as you have enough money to live. So...
And I think often it's that jump from finding, you know, your unique thing that you feel in the flow with, that you're good at, and then making that something that allows you to thrive.
Yeah, I think we're like you said earlier. I'm at that point where we now have a fantastic team. I mean, I'm not asking to be taken in baby reins and walked up the street, but you know, I do accept the fact is that there is a certain element of what I just said there I do need putting baby reins and helped. You know, as a neurodivergent that gives away, there's a reason why I give away. People don't ask that reason. It's like people who are taking will continue to take. People who give will continue to give.
So we will wrap this, but you can't leave that there. So if nobody else asks why,
right?
we're on a platform with microphones in front of us. So what is that, a confidence thing? Why is that? Do you not?
Is it a worth thing?
What is it?
I guess that I want everybody to have a small part of me, because that's a part of me. That's a bit of painting is a part of my world, part of my new life. It's not part of my old life. So I guess it's like a jigsaw piece, and once all the pieces fit together, then I'll be able to reveal to the world when the plan has finally
So
went.
it's like
and
a statement of who you are,
and
to
they will
yourself.
have something that they can. So I'll get to the story, right? So the story is when I was a caravan salesman.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
Before
I haven't
lockdown.
heard that one bit. Right, okay. So you went
before-
from bank manager to caravan salesman.
Before lockdown, I was working in a holiday park, and I had the biggest cancellation rate in the park, because I just like everybody, and everybody liked the caravan park we were in, so I was able to sell the world to them, but they couldn't afford it. So I asked my boss, and I said, you know, what is it I'm doing that that everybody else isn't. He says, well, you know, James, you love the park. You take people on the tour. They love the tour. They love the park. They love you. They love the caravan. They love that. And then the next minute, you're getting them to park with like 60 grand or £250,000 with their credit card or their debit card. And then it's like, when they go away, they're like, and they literally come down off this high. And when he told me that, I was like, because I'm an excitable guy, and it's like, and then so all during the lockdown and the thinking, I guess, and finding out you can paint was, how can I counteract? How can I capitalise on this great thing that this man has given me? This great knowledge that Chris had installed on me.
That power that you have.
Aye, so literally it went round and round and round, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I should just paint stuff and give them away. You know, maybe I should give stuff away. So I have to take blame for my side of the street for that. But now, as I said, we're now at a point where I have people in the team who's like Jan who'll say, oh, you know, you shouldn't really be giving too much away. Then secretly I'll give you something away. But, you know, it's getting there is what I'm trying to say. You know, that whole ethos of you can't give everything away. But that is the true reason.
So
was that
people,
yeah,
sorry. So people were buying you in rather than the
He
caravan.
just didn't want the caravan.
And now you're kind of coming to that vulnerable kind of authentic place where you actually are selling, and it's about you accepting the worth of you.
Exactly.
But
so it all lies on me. So it's like I'm only starting to realise the potential and the worth of what it is that I do, because it's a challenge that neurodivergent like myself
syndrome,
struggle.
I read that as a miscommunication. Actually, but again, I wasn't in the room, I don't know, but it's weird, and I'm probably going to say something that I wasn't anticipating on saying, but at least the owner of the caravan park said to you, look, they believe in you, and you took that as a positive. And I think it's still a confidence thing for you. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just sitting here listening to the story going...
I think if I'll try to flip it on its head and say, you know, if people like this and like what we do, then they should have something. So at the beginning it was like pretty much give away freely what was given to me. You know, this newfound thing, this newfound James is able to give somebody something and make them happy.
Yes.
So to see
And
that as a dopamine buzz by seeing somebody now, what it wasn't always physically there to hand over, because I do have wee secret projects where I leave stuff at people's door or I give it away, and they made me happy, because what does an addict do, never mind a neurodivergent, by making money? Scare fact, you know how scary that is, to go from COVID land to making money. Am I going to go back? Am I going to drink? Am I going to do this? It's like, I'm a neurodivergent. Do you see how the conversation with myself went back round? And I'm like,
So
there you go. I am. Acceptance.
In the 4 years, and you've kind of just answered it there, have you kind of found the worth of yourself?
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
that you're now comfortable.
I'm still
that
working on it. I
into a
think
business.
it's one day at a time. You know, I wake up and it's one day at a time for everything. But
Same.
it's different. It's each day is different. I have control over the fact is that if something kind doesn't happen to me in that day, I can become the kindness. And that's a true fact.
Yeah, random
And
acts
it's
of kindness.
random acts of kindness. Give away, but in small doses now. I'm not giving away the whole business.
No, and it is,
But-
like, if you can, it's a beautiful thing to do.
Exactly. Like we gave you one the other day, Kat, a wee box, and it's got
I
wee
love that.
quotes in it.
It's
That's
on my desk.
everybody has the power to do that. Everybody has the power to be able to give something. I get it. Being a neurodivergent and acceptance has got me to here. So yes, I probably shouldn't have given away as much, but accepting the fact is that it got me to here. That's what gets me. And yes, I will try and be a little more less of giving bits away.
I'll just have still give away, but at the same time actually
Keep some.
not even keep some, just make some money
Yeah.
from the stuff you give away, because it is just before we move on to the last question, it is a social economic thing. Some people
Picasso might feel like
Exactly,
eating
a
something more
luxury for
expensive in her
Picasso.
old
So
age.
some
You never
people
know.
don't have the funds to buy the painting. Some people love the idea of having a card with them as a pick-me-up.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you should be able to, in your own way, be at a sort of dopamine high of the goodness, as you said, or giving it back. But you should still be able to eat at the end of the week.
Yes.
That's my point. Okay, so are there any, just final question, are there any neurodivergent hacks or cheat sheets you use in daily life or as an entrepreneur?
Well,
That's a big question to end with.
It is, but yes is the answer. And I was trying not to run away with myself there. I am a mobile phone addict, but that isn't always the case. You know, I have my mobile phone in my hand. It's under the desk as we speak.
It really is. But,
It's literally under the desk, but you know, the fact is that I use my phone for everything. I write myself notes because ADHD goes off in the tangents, as we've all discovered, and I go in the notes and I find out what it is that I've messaged myself.
I love when you find things that you worked out and then you're like, oh, look, I answered that.
I have 47,000 pictures on my phone, so for my hack for that is that I use my phone to teach future me something. I don't live in the future or the past, but to go and lift my phone and go, that's why I text myself that, and then I turn it into a painting.
Right. So 47. I'm going to say something really terrible, but in the interest of time, you have 47,000 pictures. We have less than 2 minutes. And we want to try and give Amelia as much to edit. I mean, as little to edit as possible. But there needs to be the film to do that. So I'm sure there will be a part 2, maybe even 3, 4, 5, or 6. And I'm sure we will revisit that.
We may also talk about topics.
We absolutely may talk about topics. But
Great
for now, at
chocolate
least, for now at least, thank you so much for sharing part of your story with us.
Thank you
And
very much.
I know that people will be able to take notes from that and learn from that and add it into their business. But just thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. Please, as I said at the start, engage in socials. And I've been Michael.
I've been Kat.
I've been James.
And until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.